I am Sitiaimi binti Mohamah, metric card 2018082. So now I will discuss to you about the concept and the historical development of liberalism. Okay, what is liberalism? Liberalism is a political and economic doctrine that emphasizes individual autonomy, equality of opportunity, and the protection of individual rights, which is primarily to life, liberty, and property. Originally against the state and later against both the state and private economic actors, also including businesses. Who's the founder of this ideology of liberalism? The intellectual founders of liberalism were the English philosopher John Locke, who developed a theory of political authority based on natural individual rights and the consent of the governed, and also the Scottish economist and philosopher Adam Smith, who argued that societies prosper when individuals are free to pursue their self-interests within an economic system based on a private ownership of the means of production and also competitive markets, controlled neither by the state nor by private monopolies. Factors that lead to the development of the ideology, there are four factors. The first one is the development of science. Science makes people aware of the potential, both individual potential and also organizational potential, in this case is the state. The second one is utilization of technological tools. The convenience of technology from time to time make it easier for humans to manage various aspects of their lives. The third one is social change in society. Social change in which people are reluctant to be confined in an unequal government. And the last one is the emergence of an awareness of renewing the way of life. Renewing the way of life is a follow-up to the development of science in society, so people are encouraged to realize their potential.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Maizatul Amirah binti Amiruddin, and now I am going to continue the presentation with the principle and characteristic of liberalism in Islam. Now let's dive into the features of liberal in Islam. The first characteristic is that it rejects religion and any individual is free to voice their stand in any religious-related problems or issues. Relativism plays huge practice in liberalism, where if there is something that is relative, it means the truth, and people cannot take legal action towards it. Next, the followers of liberal Islam also have divided the revelation into two parts, which are written revelation, which is Al-Quran, which it describes the religion and also human reason, where the Quranic texts are restored based on purpose, context, and mode of the time. Besides that, secularism is also one of the characteristics of liberal Islam. The followers of liberal Islam that influenced by the idea of secularism argued that Islamic law is no longer suitable for the practice today, while most of Islam should be removed from life. This liberal thought supports to separate religious affairs from human life. Now let's move on to the principle in liberal Islam. Liberal Islamic thought is a form of ideology that puts the principle of freedom and individualism in every aspect of life. Freedom is the primary value of liberal creed. It is being viewed through which the rationale of individual pursues his own interests and also as a value which helps men get what they want by the virtue of exercising freedom that man enjoys. Individualism, on the other hand, is put at the center. Liberals define individual as self-sustaining independent self with the absolute power to understand his own interests and also the capacity to realize his own interests. However, violence is prohibited except in a situation to preserve liberal society itself.
Fatihah Binti Ali, and I will be presenting about the impact of their belief to the people. So first example of the allergy are religious pluralism, which is referred to diversity of religion that exist among the human being as a worship to the one God. In other words, religious pluralism refer that Islam is not the only true religion. And then second is the reject implementation of Islamic Sharia, which liberal Muslim they reject the implementation of Islamic law on the current because its implementation is considered highly contrary to the human right and inconsistent with the development of time. And then third is the gender equality, which among the well-known movement in fighting for the equality is feminist movement, which liberal Islamic feminism usually demands equality of Sharia law between the men and women, and any difference in right or privilege that exists must be limited because for them it is discriminatory and oppressive of women. And these are several examples of Islamic feminist group which there is listed in Islam from Malaysia. And then LGBT right, which is liberal Islamic thinkers that argue that there's no reason to reject homosexuality because the followers views that there is no reason to prevent such thing as the God has made all men equal, either man or woman. And moving on to the activities conducted by them in different parts of the world. In USA, Muslim women then led a mixed gender Friday prayer that caused a controversy, which this happened when Aminah Wadud became an imam for Friday prayer in the Anglican Church building in New York, which Aminah Wadud is one of the professors of the United States University, which there are more than 100 men and women attending the service and sermon given by Aminah. And in German, at Berlin's Ibn Rashid Goethe Mosque, where men and women they pray together, and gay and lesbian and intersex people as well as all Muslim denominations are welcome to the mosque. And then Berlin Mosque is a major step forward for inclusive Muslims as it is the first permanent liberal mosque. And in Malaysia, SIS state that there are opposed to hudud law that are implemented on the ground that hudud punishment contrary to the federal constitution, which discriminating against trans women. Other than that, SIS state that the wearing of the hijab is an individual right and claim that the hijab was something that violated women's right to freedom.
Assalamualaikum, I'm Rozaini binti Hinnasir, and now we move to strengths and shortcomings of our ideology in Islamic worldview. So strength is our ideology be able to uphold the truth. General for us to know there are now various opinions and views about our daily life. For example, the existence of the belief of liberalism. These various opinions result in many true things being hidden to allow the wrong things to be done all the time. Allah said in Surah Al-Baqarah ayah 42, and do not confound truth with falsehood and do not hide the truth when you know it. Next is giving awareness about liberalism, which can affect our faith. We know that liberalism is contrary to Ahli Sunnah wal Jama'ah. It raises sensitive issues such as wanting to use the word of Allah in the church and defending LGBT rights that are very much at odds with human instincts. So our ideology helps to one fellow Muslim about the bad effects of liberalism because it is so important to uphold the sanctity of Islam. Next slide is about the shortcomings of our ideology. First and foremost is the lack of evidence. There is one famous fixed saying, judging a thing requires a clear picture of it. Imam Al-Ghazali stated the importance for a scholar to understand the true nature of a matter discussed before is worthy of criticism or acceptance. So that is why we still lack of evidence, because liberalism is long and heavy topic and requires such long research. Last but not least, this ideology is not easily accepted by society, especially by the loyal followers of liberalism and non-Muslims. Thousands of years ago, it was stated in the Quran that we know Jews and Christians have never stopped being hostile to Muslims. In Surah Al-Baqarah ayah 120 stated that, and never will the Jews or the Christians approve you until you follow their religion. Say, indeed, the guidance of Allah is the only guidance. If you were to follow their desire after what has come to you of knowledge, you will have against Allah no protector or helper. We know that some of liberalism is considered as murtad and they will not easily accept others' opinion as it will threatening their trust. I think that's all from us. Thank you.
Liberalism is an ethical approach that says that you're free to do anything you want to, so long as you don't violate someone else's rights. Liberalism comes from the Latin word liber, meaning free, and it started as a reaction against the idea of kings ruling because God said so. People, said John Locke, are free to rule themselves, hooray! In fact, they're free to do anything they want to, but they agree not to hurt each other because society works better that way. So liberalists say that every person has some basic rights. These include the right to life, to own stuff, to live free from torture and slavery and arbitrary arrest, so freedom of movement. And some liberalists also include the right to free speech. Importantly, liberalism says that all humans get these rights at birth, so we're all born equal. This sounds great, hey? You get to do what you want, nobody gets their rights violated, and everyone's equal. Brilliant. But wait a minute. Liberalism doesn't tell you what to do. It only tells you what not to do, which is to violate anybody else's rights. Let's imagine the scenario where you're walking past a shallow pond and you spy in the water a drowning little toddler. What should you do? Any half-decent person would say, well, wade in there and save the little tacker, right? Well, liberalism actually has no advice in this situation. If you walk right on past saying that you'd rather not get your shoes muddy, liberalism finds no problem with this, despite the fact that the rest of the world might think that you're a knob. You see, you didn't violate that kid's rights at all, so you're free to choose whatever course of action you like. Yes, you might say he has the right to life, but you didn't take that away from him. He lost that by falling in the pond. There's a big difference in liberalism between murdering somebody and allowing somebody who's currently dying to continue to die. Liberalism is also a big fan of unlimited capitalism, in which companies compete to get market share. It claims a world in which governments make the least laws possible, only to protect those big rights, is a great world. So liberalism allows people to accumulate huge sums of wealth and give none away and generally be a bit selfish about life. If this is no problem to you, then you might find liberalism appealing. If you think people are duty-bound to help each other in need and that governments should make laws to actively care for the vulnerable, then liberalism might not be for you. So, liberalism is an ethical approach that says you're free to do anything you want as long as you don't violate someone else's rights.
Assalamualaikum guys.
Waalaikumsalam.
Alright, okay, to begin, I think we're supposed to discuss this topic for maybe 20 to 30 minutes, but since everyone is having another work to do, so we will try to make this discussion brief and concise. Okay?
Yes, sure.
Okay, so the topic is about liberal. So when we talk about liberal, it is something that is unrestricted and open. Simply put, this concept of liberalism is in favor of freedom and support democratic governance. And the liberal Islamic stream on either side refers to a stream that goes beyond the original and pure Islamic law in terms of openness and freedom. So in the modern context, liberalism is an attack on thought and culture in which different varieties of attacks are carried out in an indirect manner in order to ruin the Muslim community's religious beliefs, perhaps leading to the collapse of our deen. So I want to ask, what do you guys know about what exactly this liberal Islam is fighting for?
Okay, from what I know, in Malaysia, these liberal Muslims have begun to fight for various issues in order to spread the idea of liberalism more widely. The agenda is that they want to fight for religious pluralism by equalizing all religions so that the position of Islam as the truest religion can be eliminated. Indirectly, the position of Islam in Malaysia can be lowered so that it can invite the symptoms of murtad. This is in line with one of the demands of the IFC or the Interfaith Commission to allow Muslims to murtad without being subject or to any obstacle or any legal action.
I truly agree with you, Maizatul. Other than that, liberal Muslims also seek to abolish the autonomy of Islam either directly or indirectly. The position of Islam in Malaysia as the religion of the federation or Islam as the religion of the state is intentionally explained with Islam as the official religion only. The purpose in stating so is to make Malaysia a secular country based on liberal democracy that is not tied to Islam. For this reason, they also oppose the empowerment of Sharia courts and Sharia law. They also intend to abolish Islamic religious institutions in Malaysia.
May we keep away from such things. So we as a true Muslim need to find a solution in order to confront and avoid getting caught up in the liberal Islamic trap. And a various approach, efforts, and dakwah strategies can be done through religious agency and preachers in addressing and repelling the threat of this ideology in school, either at the settlement areas, also at national level. And other than an agency, we ourselves need to learn religious knowledge in more depth from religious teachers who have credential and authority. By then, from things that we have learned, it can be a fortress from being deceived by the liberal Islamic thinking.
I also think that societies plays an effective role by having attitude to be accountable on our religion issue and keep reminding each other of the dangers of this movement and how important it is to return and understand the true teachings of Islam in daily life that are based on revelation.
All right, so Alhamdulillah, I think we should end our discussion today. And before that, I would like to remind that it has been our responsibility to learn and to know about anything that related to our religion in order to help ourselves and also our religion. And also would like to remind that we as a Muslim always should be aware from being deceived with this kind of Islamic liberal thought, especially in this zaman that full of lies and slander. Wallahu alam. All right. Thank you, everyone. See you next time in another kind of topic. Have a good day.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.